I assume that about my wife. I start imagining how I'm going to have to live without her. How it will be at the funeral with her family. How I'll need to pretend everything at work is okay even though I'm dying inside. Then she arrives home and I'm like, okay, it's fine. She's safe. Stop with the emo shit. Me too, and sometimes all it takes is my husband, let's say, cuts his finger. In a split second I imagine him getting some kind of a freaky infection and dying from it, and then whatever you just described, funeral. Life without him. I hate these thoughts so much. I totally forgot about this, but yay, as a kid I used to freak out about that. These days no, but yay, definitely when I was a kid. You're supposed to grow out of it? This is what I think if I call someone and they don't pick up their phone. This is what I think when this one guy is late to D&D. I believe catastrophizing is the official term for this kind of thing. Yes, it is a known phenomenon, so you're not the only one. Cognitive behavioral therapy or similar can be helpful. Personally, I prefer meditation. Same here. www.www.www. Once I had a dream where my parents got in a car accident in my dad's car. I thought it was just a weird dream because in real life they always use our other car. My dad's car is for his work. That day they weren't home, and I was with my grandmother. I thought they were working, but when they didn't come home well after their work schedule ended, I asked my grandma where they were. She said our other car was in service and my parents went to retrieve it with my dad's car. I started crying and begging my grandma to call them. She tried to calm me by saying they are probably just shopping or in a traffic jam or something, but she started to worry after we couldn't reach them. Turns out they were actually in a car accident, but fortunately no one got hurt badly. That is creepy. Yeah, I always assume the worst and start panicking. It's like preparation panic. I should be ready for whatever news comes my way because my mom is 20 minutes late. My mom died in a car accident 23 years ago, so I do get anxious whenever my dad or anyone else is late. Sorry for your loss. Disappointed. I knew there would be a few people in this comment section who lost a parent in a car accident. This is called generalized anxiety. Yeah, was diagnosed with it weeks ago. It explains so much of these thoughts, haha. Helpfully, my mother was almost never on time. So you never really get this anxiety. You do get kind of stressed out if you were as a friend and had to be ready for pickup at 1800 and she did show up on time. That was usually a sign something bad had been discovered and I was going to get grounded again. My mom is never on time and I still get this anxiety pouting. And I have it to this day too. I had a phase of severe separation anxiety as a child, that only gradually ameliorated with therapy and time. I used to get panic attacks if my parents were even 1 minute late to anything, and assume the worst had happened. Okay, this is the first time I have seen ameliorated used on Reddit. Cheers, man. Gus. You know dogs are not allowed on the computer and I will be home soon. Yep, and now we're all adult-sized balls of anxiety. Welcome to the club. Your poor mental health and constant self-doubt will be arriving in the mail in 3 to 4 business weeks. I assume this about everyone. It's really nerve-wracking. My wife drives a lot for work and whenever she's late I always worry. Especially if there's news of a fatal car accident on the motorway she travels on. Of which there's usually one a month. No, I don't. Yeah, it's called catastrophizing and is linked to various mental health issues, like anxiety disorders and OCD and PTSD. That's really good that you don't. I did it fair bit as a kid. I often worried a bad outlet would spark and start fire, or people had died in car crashes, etc. One time when my dad got home really late and yeah, I had been catastrophizing like crazy. He eventually got home but with a horrible headache and died suddenly that night of a brain aneurysm. Anyway, I learned from this that I had OCD because I went from having a probably mild case to severe. I had insanely bad catastrophizing and would be unable to sleep and would just walk around the house checking the doors were locked. The stove was off. There weren't anything plugged in improperly. Also emailed myself things repeatedly as backups. Fortunately, I'm now in a better place and do this much less than I did as kid. All the time. All the fucking time. Especially because my parents are old and don't check the phone very often. I do this with everyone and it's mentally exhausting. Mate, if you ask if anybody else has done something, the answer is going to be an overwhelming, yes, 99% of the time. So are you confessing to murder? As an adult, I mostly get paranoid that my friends died in car accidents, rather than my parents, but yes. When my roommate texts that they're leaving work but doesn't get home for ages, I'm like, oh god, THEYRE, dead aren't they? But usually they just got stuck waiting for a train to pass. I feel like I was born knowing my mother is physically incapable of shutting the fuck up. I always assume she's holding some polite stranger hostage in a one-sided conversation somewhere. She doesn't discriminate. Family, friends, cashiers, panhandlers, solicitors, the unfortunate vendor at the mall who thought to make eye contact trying to sell his overpriced soap. She'll go for hours without letting you get a word in. She'll follow you if you try to walk away. I've had to go on rescue missions to liberate people from her conversations. Lol. Assume? As in you are surprised when they turn up 30 minutes later? I thought you were dead. Darn it. I lost that bet. Totally. Now the older they get, I worry more about stroke or heart attack, but those can of course also happen while driving. I didn't previously, but after my husband passed from an accident, I always think something bad has happened to someone and start to become anxious when they are late and not picking up their phone. I'm nearly 40 and do this about my husband. My brother died very suddenly in an accident many years ago, but the fear still grips me when husband is late home from anywhere. Nope. We're Greek. We're always late.